What have we got here?
You know? Because I know you can see but it's funny because I've watched live video on mobile from LinkedIn, and the way it's set up is automatically the chat is it's because it's mobile, it just refreshes. So on the desktop, you probably have both. Yeah, that would explain the desktop. You just have to open it up and
Yeah,
that full
yeah.
view.
So we got some people coming in. It looks like on LinkedIn. So,
Now, should I be let's see, is
so if you
there
can watch the
ooh,
Facebook, that would be good.
okay,
Because I got
sure,
Brad watching LinkedIn. I'm gonna kind of cruise back and
okay,
forth. Um,
alright.
so you guys that are on LinkedIn, we're just getting things ironed up here for pre-show. So we're gonna be live here. We're just making sure all the destinations are up. So we want to welcome you guys. We are streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn, all in the Telestream platforms. And you can check that out. It looks like we are live here. So I want to share this out to my page. So if you guys could
Oh, I
share
see
it, that
it.
would be great. Any of you guys
What
out
I'm gonna
there?
do, I'm gonna share this.
Okay, those of you on Facebook, I see that we are live, so I'm sharing it out. Um, and also, let's double check YouTube. See, this is yep, we're live here on YouTube as well. So we've got everything up and going. I'm gonna mute all the audio here. So anybody on YouTube. So I'm gonna kind of Brad, if you can, if you're listening, Brad, um, if you can watch, if you go to youtube.com/telestreamtube and kind of check those chats out as well and relay it in either chat so Marty and I can see it. Because Marty's going to be watching Facebook. I'm going to have the LinkedIn one open. I want to make sure that we stay engaged because as these shows progress, I put out yesterday, Marty. I was telling you earlier, but I'll tell the crowd. Um, Thoughts and ideas that people want to see to have professional live video on social media and ways that they can up their game. And believe it or not, we got a big response from a lot of different people on that. So we were able to plan out the next, all the way up to episode 6, and we're starting episode 3. We even had some guests, some folks say that they would guest appearance and give their take on some of the things that they specialize in when it comes to video and marketing and things. So we got some really cool stuff planned for the next couple of weeks and
Oh, yeah, I'm
months, and
excited.
it's going to be fun. So we have a pre-show question here from Antonio. He says, "How is it possible to stream to LinkedIn?" So LinkedIn is in beta right now. So in order to stream to LinkedIn, you have to fill out an application. I would Google search LinkedIn live video application. That comes up. They're going to ask you a series of questions and see if you kind of meet the criteria of it to be able to stream to LinkedIn. Uh, the rumor is later this year it's going to be open to the public, but for right now it's only a select group of people that get to stream to it. And then we're using Telestream's Wirecast to enable us to stream to it because they're official partners of LinkedIn. So that destination is pre-built into the Wirecast encoding preset. So I hope that answers your question.
I'm just gonna, there's a window open here. I'm just adjusting my lighting a little bit.
Yeah,
Let's
no
see,
worries.
where's that?
Do your thing. Do what you got to do. And
Right
guys, we're
here?
going to be
Yeah,
getting
over here.
started here in just about 7 minutes. We're going to get started right at the top of the hour. So feel free to put your comments in, tweet this out, share this out, whatever you want to do. We really appreciate it. So that way, um, we can have the biggest audience that we possibly can and get the word out about professional live video on social media platforms. And I think it's good. I think a lot of people have enjoyed the program so far. A lot of good feedback. Gotten some emails from some folks. So I'm pretty excited, Marty, going forward here. I think we found something that I think the audience really can enjoy and something that they can take away from it. So
Oh, absolutely, I totally agree.
even if we don't have the answers, we
Yes.
will we will find a guest that has the answers and bring them in. I know some folks from Telestream that are really good in the marketing department that are really they've been doing this their whole life. They've volunteered to come on the show too in the future and kind of talk about different ways to kind of market that video specifically toward a certain niche. So I think that's going to be
Right.
really exciting. So those are things that are coming here in the future. And I realized something today too in planning. July 4th is a Thursday, which is the day we do our show.
Okay.
So I'm
Oh
thinking,
boy.
yeah. So I'm thinking July 3rd, that Wednesday, will be the only day that we do it on a Wednesday, if that works for you.
I think it might.
So
I
I
think
don't
it
want to
will. I don't
cancel
think
the
I've been.
show. I would like to just do it a day early because obviously we're out of the office on the 4th, and I may be
Yep.
also taking some PTO on Friday and take a long weekend. So
What?
yeah,
You
man,
do that?
I do that. I'm gonna take a long weekend and enjoy it, but we want to make sure everybody gets the show. So we can do it
Yep.
on Wednesday the 3rd, and I'll kind of
Yeah,
make that
Wednesday would be
announcement.
good.
So just
Yeah,
kind of
we'll
mark,
remind people.
yeah, mark your calendars, folks. So that week, and we'll say it during the show. That week, it'll be on a Wednesday, July 3rd, because the 4th, everybody's going to be celebrating Independence Day. And I know a lot of folks even go out of town on the 3rd, but we still want to get the show out. We don't want to.
Mhm.
That's going to be one of our topics in a future show about consistency and building your audience. So I don't want to
Yeah.
spoil that, but that's coming.
Yes. So important.
That is very important. So let's see if we got anybody here on Facebook coming in. We see Lindsay's in there. John Preto's in
Oh,
there.
we got John Preto. Hey, John.
Who else have we got here?
Lindsay.
Dylan and Van Williams. What are we discussing today? Okay, so that's a great question. We're going to talk about possible solutions for backdrops, the proper way to frame your camera, and we've got some examples of what you might not want to do or you didn't know. Understanding the type of microphones to use and why you want to use a certain type of microphone for your environment, and then how to minimize noise in your broadcast area. We have a little bit more elaboration on that, but that's pretty much the gist of today's show. So in about 5 minutes, we'll get started, and so hopefully you guys stick around. It should be a really good show.
Yeah, a lot of good topics today.
I'm going to share this also to my page. Let me see here. Share on your own timeline. Okay. So yeah, I this last time we didn't get a chance to do any of this. I didn't get a chance to share this out and do any of this. Yes, Ray says consistency in the future sounds good. Yeah, that's definitely something that we're going to be covering. So we appreciate that. Any kind of feedback that you guys have, those of you maybe over here on YouTube. There's only a few watching over there, but mostly everybody's over here on Brad's like, no sound. Yep, there's sound.
Oh, yes. We got it dialed in this week.
Yeah. Brad's like, no sound.
Last week was
Got
just for demonstration purposes only, of course.
That's always how it goes, right?
You know, right?
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. So it's always funny when I go back and I watch some of the comments. Sometimes I see that said, people are like, "There's no sound," and it was in the beginning because we had it muted because we were trying to get
Yep.
you dialed in, and I had to go on and be like, "Yeah, we know there's no sound. I had it muted, but we're gonna be back." So just for future guys, the way we do pre-show a lot, and we'll kind of explain this because somebody actually requested. They said, "Show us like when you're getting a guest on, what are some of the procedures that you go through to bringing a guest on?" Now, not everybody's as seasoned as Marty over here, so they don't have their stuff together all the time. So what do you do in that situation? How do you plan for that? And those are things that we're going to discuss in an upcoming episode because I think, obviously being on social media, you're planning it for a certain time, a time of the day where you're getting the most traffic. So it's always great to make sure that you're on time, even though the last couple episodes we were like a minute or two late, and I don't like to, I don't like to do that. I like to,
Yes.
I run a tight ship. I like to be on time, start. But just so y'all know that.
And that goes along with the pre-show prep discussion.
Yes.
I'm sure that's a whole nother show in itself right
That's
there.
going to be a show in itself. So we're going to try to get this to you guys. Your wife says audio is good, so that's good. That's good.
Okay. Yeah, Alex, it may just be a issue sometimes with the internet, and
Yeah,
so a
it,
refresh might help
it
there.
it could be cutting in and out with that if your internet. We are sending high definition, so um, yeah, but keep the comments coming even during the show. Just like we're one of those shows that we like interaction. So if you guys got comments on something we've said, please we'll look at the comments. That's why we're trying to keep all the chats open. We've got Brad Llewellyn who's in the chat room. If you see him, if we didn't catch up on something, he has a direct contact to us. He can ping Marty or
Mhm.
myself and make sure that we answer that question. So if you see him popping around, he's kind of helping us facilitate the chats because there's so many chats.
Yeah, if you see
Uh,
me looking down, I got my chat right over here, so I'm kind of looking at the corner of my eye here, trying to keep one eye on the chat, one eye on the
yeah,
camera. So
we'll just and Marty a quick look, then I'll pull him back, and that's the way we'll do it. Um, all right, so we're just about ready to start here in about 1 minute. So we'll be ready to rock and roll here, folks, and get this thing going. I got 2 o'clock on my stream. What do you got?
I got the same.
I think it's time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go dark, and we're going to get this intro rolling. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of On Social. I am your host, Stephen Haywood. I am the Wirecast marketing manager for Telestream, and today we've got an awesome show all about social media and live video and how you can incorporate those two to give you the best possible production that you can and the most professional, might I add. I am joined by our brand new co-host, who I've known for quite some time, Mr. Marty McPadden from PodJam.tv. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, sir. Great to be here. Another episode.
Yeah, we're kind of chuckling because last week Marty we kind of got in a hurry. Marty had some issues which we're going to kind of talk a little bit about. As you can see, Marty is now in his full-fledged studio. It's got everything
Yes.
dialed in and looks fabulous. So, um, these are things that you work through and you get going. But it's great to have you as always. A
Thank you very much, sir.
little bit of housekeeping I want to do real quick. Hey guys, we were talking in the pre-show a little bit. For those that missed it, July 4th this year is a Thursday. So normally we do the show every Thursday, but that week it's going to be July 3rd. It's a Wednesday. So mark your calendar so you don't miss the show. We're not going to cancel it. We're just going to do it a day early. So that way you guys can still get the show and we can kind of keep the momentum going for the show. We don't want you guys to miss out on any of the shows. So keep that in mind, and we'll send it out on social media. And I'm sure Marty, you'll blast it. I'll blast it.
Absolutely.
We'll get Telestream to blast it. So that's what's coming up here. So let's kind of dive into this. So one of the things we talked about last week, Marty, was kind of setting up your shot to be more professional. Even though your camera wasn't set up properly, we'll get into that later in the show. Um, what are types of things that you can use for backdrops? I know you've got a green screen. Everybody saw that. I'm using a TV here with a really cool background. Um, I don't know if people realize how cheap different backdrops are. A lot of people don't want to use a green screen because if they're not like what you have well lit, it can look bad, right?
Yeah, a green screen's more of an advanced technique. I mean, it's very versatile because what I have back there obviously is a video running behind me, and you could put whatever source you want there, whether it's an image or whether it's a web page or whatever you want to do there. But it is a little bit advanced because it involves some advanced lighting techniques to make it look natural and make it look real. But there are other things you can do, and what I would suggest is especially if you're just starting out, simplicity is always best. So, you could use like a Muslim background, just like a drapery background. Behind this green screen, I actually have um, beige curtains that I use for a very basic setup, and something like that, where just have basic curtains, maybe some uplighting on it, and leave it at that to start. I've seen people use it, and Steven showing on the screen there, like a Muslim, looks like that's a Muslim background right there with poles and a crossbar,
Yeah, you can
something
get the
like
whole
that.
kit.
hmm Very simple, and then with that, the lighting is a lot less complex. It's a little easier, but it gives you a nice plain background where the one thing you do not want to do is you want the background to be complementary. You don't want it to be distracting. So if you're, doing an interview show, you want people to be concentrating on you, the host, and your guest, and not necessarily in the background. You can have some fun with backgrounds. I mean, people, depending on the type of show you're doing, you could build a little setback there. I know our friend Mark Rogers, who does a college football YouTube show, he has little, player helmets in the back. A very simple setup, but it actually goes along with what he's talking about. Doesn't distract, but it adds to it. So it doesn't have to be fancy. I mean, Stephen, you're using a really nice technique. You're using just a LCD monitor in back of
Mhm.
you, and setting that up, and you can put whatever you want back there, and eliminates the whole issue with the green screen. So I think that's probably like an intermediate device that you can use to get started, and you didn't pay very much for that monitor, and allows you to put whatever you want back there and make it a nice presentation.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's something where you can get something that's very inexpensive and have it to where, you get the same effect. So what I'm going to show right now, I'm going to show a backdrop that I use for when I'm doing my outdoor programming. And I think I only paid, I want to say something like, I think I only paid like 20, 25 bucks for it. But this is another a camera shot in here, so you can see this is a muslin. This isn't a wooden wall. Well, there is wood paneling there, but for all intents and purposes, when I'm doing product shots for outdoor TV, I use this backdrop. I mean, and like I said, it's just tacked to the wall, Marty. I mean, it's not anything that's super elaborate or super expensive. And I've got a few of them. I've actually got a few under here under my countertop here that you can get and you can use. So you don't have to break the bank. That's one of the things that we try to stress for professionalism. You could be professional and not break the bank when it comes to getting a backdrop. If you're not one of those guys that really have the room for a green screen because of all the lighting that you necessarily need. Um, but Marty, we might get into a technique, Marty's technique later on in episodes because Marty's only, I believe you're only using two lights. Am I right?
I'm using 2 lights. I'm using a key light, and I really could probably use a fill light, but I get away with it. I'm using a key light here, and I'm using a backlight that lights the back of my, like, I get that kind of that rim effect, and it also lights the green screen itself. And depending on how you have it tuned, we can go through that. But yeah, the
Yeah.
way that my lighting, I'm kind of lucky in a way because the key with green screening is you have to light the background very evenly so you don't get hot spots.
Right.
So depending on how good the software is and the equipment that you're using, that's going to determine how good your key is, the actual cutout.
Yeah, so if,
So
if so if you're one of those people that really don't want to get into the green screen or don't have the patience for it, you can download you can buy a muslin, or if you have an LCD TV like I do and just throw up a background, and we showed, if you didn't see it 2 episodes ago, the first episodes I showed how you can take your stock media from Wirecast and actually blur it out and put it as a background. So if you didn't see it, go check it out.
oh,
As
that
that's coming.
I want to reiterate how important that is. When we're preparing for the show, the background you're seeing is actually from the stock library on my Wirecast, and it's great. I was able to set it up, go my and search, control room, download it, install it. It literally took 10 seconds to do. The other thing is it's all about the illusion, right? So what
Mm-hmm.
Stephen mentioned about the wood paneling doesn't have to be real wood. It could be plastic. As long as it looks and presents the look that you want, that's all that matters. So TV and all that, it's really about the illusion and the look that you're presenting. And if you go into a lot of TV studios, you're going to see the materials aren't that, they're kind of flimsy,
Mm-hmm.
because they don't really need to be. They just need to look good, and with the proper lighting and the proper setup with your camera, you can get pretty good looks for very inexpensive materials. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to use gold or this or that. It could be very, very plastic, whatever, as long as it looks the way you want it to look.
And that's what you want to have, the most professional video that you could possibly have, especially with getting out in the social media here that we're in. So let's move on to one of the other topics we kind of alluded to at the beginning of the show is framing your camera. Now, if you notice, even Marty and I, we're about the same size in these two boxes. Our shoulders are kind of even, as if we were sitting in, the same type of studio. If you watch a lot of CNN broadcasts, Fox News, you're going to notice that you're not going to have these people that are one guy's in one box that's really big and another guy in another box is really small. It just, the proportions just not really there. So it's always important. Like if you notice Marty, how he's framed, and then if I go to my shot here, we're framed very similarly. And that's because you don't want it so low to where, if the person's sitting wrong or sitting incorrectly. So I'm just going to kind of get off my stool here. Framing it incorrectly, you don't want the lower third like this.
How many times have you seen that?
We see that an awful lot, and it's just, it doesn't look right. It doesn't look good for broadcasting. And I know it's a little bit of a goofy demonstration because the microphone's here, but I think people get the point. Like, sometimes people will be shooting their phone if that's the only way the guests can come in. You got to train your folks to kind of get that whole silhouette in there the way you would see it. I mean, because obviously you're trying to mimic professionalism, which is TV, right?
Yeah, I mean, and especially when you're doing that two box look, right? So you're looking at the composite, the overall look, and look at it through your eyes of your viewer. Does it look like something? What I would suggest is take a screen. If you're practicing, record some video, take a screenshot, look at it. Does it look good to you? And actually, and also if you're doing shows, watch your shows.
Yes.
And be constructively critical of yourself, not to necessarily nitpick, but to see that I do everything right. Am I looking at it? Stephen mentioned, positioning, right? It's kind of the rule of thirds comes into that play where you want to position the top of your head toward the top of the frame, not in the middle. A lot of people I see put their face right in the middle of the frame and they have all this headroom. Well, you got to look at the overall, you're looking at the overall frame there. Same thing when you're taking pictures. I mean, you want to position your head toward the top. And also what you mentioned about getting people the same size, relatively the same. Like if you're doing headshots, you want the heads relatively the same size, so you have nice, even, nice aesthetic to the look. And you just want to be, it's really just being aware of it, instead of like, not, and a lot of people forget about it. But yeah, I would watch your video back and look at it and look constructively. Am I doing all those things? And these are relatively simple things. You don't need a lot of gear to get this right. But just position your camera,
right,
position your head in the frame. That's really all there is to it. Just awareness about it.
So let's give a little bit of example here. I'm going to cut to Marty here full screen. So if you notice, he's got everything without a lower third. He's got everything framed. Now I'm going to pull up last week's position where he had it. Because this is the way he should be. Now he made the best of it last week, and if you notice here, you can see this was
not ideal.
This is how he was last week, and he's looking down at the camera. He made it work. He's kind of sitting in a corner, which if you talk to a lot of people, that's kind of a no-no, but it was the way he had to do it. It was kind of, you still sounded great, but this is what we're talking about, camera position. This is not as flattering, right, as this shot. When you see this
night and day,
this versus this, you're talking, I mean, you just look that much more professional. And I think that's what people need to understand. Even though your camera was clear, your audio was clear, that was something that you could do to make your situation better, right? Straighten your camera out. Look how much different and look how much better he looks now, having the setup the way he has it. So it kind of worked out good. We were able to give that demonstration.
Exactly, and I'll add to it. Take away, put the green screen aside. Just concentrate on the actual. If you're just using a plain background, substitute this green screen I'm using. Substitute a regular background. Just the positioning and the light. Just simple lighting. Just the even lighting. Just strive for some evenness. I mean, you can even use natural lighting, but camera position, eye level. My camera's slightly, both for Stephen and I, slightly above eye level. I'm looking right into the camera. I'm looking right at you. and that's another thing you got to get used to. And my monitor is slightly off to the side, so if I'm looking at myself, the monitor is right there. If you can position the monitor behind underneath your camera, right now I can't do that,
Hmm.
but I train myself to look right in the camera, and I kind of look out of the side of my eye and see what Steven's doing on the video return. But this is why, like on the news channels, when they have the multi-box, they always, even in studio, they always have the people, and you can tell the directors give them the directions in the air. They're always looking at the camera, even though they're right in the studio there, because they're playing to the viewer, not them, not each other.
And that's really, that's key. You have to look at the screen, or you have to look at the camera. And like Marty, with Wirecast, you have the multi-viewer out, so I have that ability to kind of have a example of what I'm seeing for shots to line up. So I'm not focused on the interface, and I'm not focused on anything else. I'm able to just kind of focus on the camera, and like Marty said, out of the corner of your eye, kind of see that. So understanding, I think, to button this up, understanding framing of yourself on camera for a news style show or a talk style show. Now, obviously, this doesn't fall into the category of you're live streaming, you're walking through a park. Obviously, you're not going to, frame yourself 100%, but use those same attributes to kind of keep head and waist in that camera shot. You don't want that camera going like this and you're cutting off part of the head, even when you're walking. I mean, these are techniques you can take throughout whatever type of broadcasting that you're doing for social media. So keep that in mind, because that's the worst thing for people to tune in and see a shaky video, up and down, cutting off half the head, or you don't even see the person talking. Then it goes up and all you see is their head. This is ideal. All right, so let's kind of shift gears here a little bit. Let's talk about microphones. Now, this is, everybody's been asking the last couple shows, Marty, they've asked what kind of microphone we're using. We're using the Heil PR40. Now, this is a $350 microphone, and we are seasoned broadcasters, so we like this. We like the quality of audio over the visual aspect. A lot of people don't like to see a microphone sitting right there. We prefer to have that than over the ear because it sounds so much better for the viewer that's watching. So we do that. Now, you don't have to spend $350. In fact, Marty has a microphone in his hand that we recommend to a lot of broadcasters. I'm going to let him explain why.
Yeah, this is the Audio Technica. I mean, it comes with various. I think this is the ATR 2005. There's the ATR 2100, which is the silver model of this. And why this is so good, this is a dynamic microphone that's USB. And Stephen, we can get into the difference between condenser and
Yep.
dynamic. And a lot of people, first time broadcasters, a lot of condenser USB mics are out there and they make a mistake. They don't know what they're buying and they end up with a horrible audio experience. But what's great about this, a couple things. One, it's dynamic, meaning that it's not powered, it's not really overly sensitive, so it's very directional. So it's great in a non-studio environment, which most people broadcast from. I'm broadcasting from just a standard office in my home, and it's not sound treated. So this Heil PR40 is a dynamic microphone, so I have to speak right in front of it. It doesn't pick up a lot of background noise, so it's great for that. Number two, this mic is very versatile. You'll notice on the bottom there, I don't know if you can see it, it has a 3-pin connector, which is XLR, which is a professional connector, but it also has, toward the top of that, you see a little mini USB connection. And so the reason why the microphone, the stem is so thick, it actually has a sound card built in. So that makes it a plug and play USB microphone. So you can plug and play any computer and you're up and running. And the sound on this thing, in my mind, Stephen, I don't know about you, but it rivals the more expensive microphones.
It's very
And
close.
and this microphone you can get on Amazon anywhere from the low probably 50, the high 80, usually around $70 any given day. And since they're not expensive, you can have a couple of these ready to go, and they're fantastic mics. So relatively inexpensive, and you can get really good sound and not a lot of setup with it. You don't need a mixer and all that stuff. But if you do graduate to mixer, you have the XLR connection right there. So it grows with you, which is great.
And I think that's important to talk about. People have seen my setup here in my studio, and I've got the sound acoustic treatments in here, mainly because I have a lot of paneling. And in my old studio, I had the angled ceiling. So what would happen is sound would just bounce off. So if you're in a situation like that and you don't really have the money to go out and buy all this sound acoustic foam, soundproofing, you can go to your local Walmart and get the bed foam. And what we did was we spray painted it black before we brought it in, and then we just attached it to the wall with double-sided sticky tape, put that on there. The other way to do it is to simplify it, especially if it's a multi-purpose room, Marty, is doing exactly what you're saying, getting the ATR 2100, which is a dynamic microphone, and it's something that you have to talk directly into, which is what ours is. A lot of radio studios you'll see they use a condenser microphone, which the condenser microphone you can see there's Blue Yeti makes a condenser microphone. The Snowball is a condenser microphone. And what that means is basically that microphone, the condenser, is going to pick up all the way around the circumference of that microphone. So in our case, we can talk into the side of our microphone and you're not going to hear us as well. So just to use it as an example, if I'm talking over here, you're not going to hear me as well as I talk here. And that's because this is a front addressed mic or a top addressed mic. So this is being a dynamic microphone. A lot of your singers on stage, bands that are out there, they use a Shure SM58, which is a dynamic microphone. Yeah, Marty's got one of them too. I take them on the road with
Yep.
me as well. So
These are great. These are built like tanks. They're fantastic.
yeah, I mean, you can use them as, you drop it, it doesn't matter, it'll still work for you. So keep that in mind. So if you're in a studio, like a radio studio that's fully acoustic treated, by all means, if you find a condenser microphone that you like, go right ahead. But the problem that you're going to run into with that is a lot of background noise. And that's something that brings us to our next point is noise in the broadcast area. I mean, Marty, not everybody has the ability to have separate rooms, separate areas to do broadcasting from. A lot of them have to, they share a room. Maybe it's their kids' playroom. Maybe it's a all-around room for everybody. A lot of people don't have central air like I didn't used to have, and I had window units. You had to figure out a way to kind of block all that noise, kids playing anything, and so that's really tough. What are some of the techniques that you use in your studio before I get into some of the things that I have that you use to kind of
Yeah,
block sound?
yeah. I mean, I think the number one thing for me is just what we were talking about, using a dynamic microphone that's highly dynamic cardioid microphone. Cardioid versus omnidirectional. Cardioid being the pickup pattern being very directional. And Stephen mentioned, Stephen demonstrated, same thing here. If I talk off axis, you're not going to hear me as well as if I talk right into the mic. So, I usually position, I usually try to put it right here. It's not going to pick up. So that's my number one weapon here. Really, is I'm in on the door to my office is open. Not that my house is very noisy, but I have my window open right over here. It's going to get natural sound. But using a dynamic microphone that's dialed in, that's highly directional, cures a lot of ills. Stephen was mentioning the condenser mic. Condenser mics are high quality microphones. They're used by singers. That's why they're used in studios. They pick up everything. They're very rich sounding. They really pick up everything, the voice. But in a live environment, that's why the SM58, a lot of stage singers use that, is because it rejects noise, and that's why they're always right on that microphone. That's really, for me, that's it. The green screen helps me a lot too, because that's a cloth, that's a kind of a muslin cloth green screen. So that kind of blocks a little sound. So you want to try to avoid hard surfaces. So if you could lay down a carpet, if you're in a room with a hardwood floor, if you can lay down maybe an area rug, that'll help. Maybe put some foam tiles up on the wall, or a curtain in the background behind the green screen. I have just a beige curtain that helps. Anything that kind of gets rid of that, or blunts the hard surfaces, and that can absorb sound a little bit more. That'll help get rid of the echo in your room. But I think the mic for me is the number one weapon for me.
And I'm glad you touched on the importance of having like a carpet, because first thing I did is I laid down a carpet right back here. It's just a throw carpet. I paid like $8 for it at Walmart on clearance, and I just threw it back here, and it's a tile floor. But one of the things I noticed is I was getting a little bit of a shine echo. I don't know how else to explain it, but it's like that very brief echo, even with the acoustic treatments up. And so one of the things that helps me also in this studio, so I don't have to do the whole room acoustic foam, is I've got a drop ceiling. So that drop ceiling with that styrofoam paneling allows for that audio to be trapped. It has, like you said, non-smooth. I mean, with paneling everywhere, it's all smooth, right? So you have all that rejection coming off. So sitting here, I had to make sure that I had some way to keep the audio clean. And I think one of the other things is, it's no secret. We use Wirecast here for the broadcast. One of the things is there's actually a tool inside of Wirecast. I'm going to kind of flip over to that right quick. If you go over to the Telestream's website and you download Wirecast, there's 3 different versions, but you can get a 30-day free trial. Go check it out. There's actually what's called a gate and compressor built into that. So you're sitting there and you're going, well, I'm not into video. I'm new to this. I'm new to social media. I'm new to all this. What is a compressor? What is a gate? A compressor is basically what you're going to hear when you listen to radio. A person can get so loud, but it compresses their audio so that they don't get screeching in their voice. And then the gate prevents those decibel levels from getting high or getting, letting in extra noise. Like you set that decibel level. So if I stop talking, you don't hear any background noises. The gate closes. So these are things that are built into Wirecast that you can use if you haven't explored that. Besides the ability to go to LinkedIn Live, which we are right now, if you're approved, go check it out because these tools are in there. And Marty, I wish 10 years ago when I started, there was, the software that we have today. I wish all these features were baked in then because I wouldn't have half the gear and hardware that I have to have in the studio because Wirecast makes it simple. It's all baked in, right?
Yes, I mean software's come a long way. PCs or that you run the software on have come a long way. They're very powerful, and what Steven mentions is you used to have to do a lot of that stuff. I had a hardware box that had a noise gate and a compressor, and a lot of that can be done quite effectively in software or using plugins. Just those two things where you have, lots of times just reducing that dynamic range, like, when you have a guest, they might have, talk really loud and that compressor kind of that's where the noise compresses everything down where it's a little more even, has that kind of that radio sound, you don't want to overdo it, but it
Right.
helps a lot. And the noise gate can get rid of that, the room noise when you're not talking. It's like the reason why they call it a gate is literally a gate. It just shuts like a gate when it goes below a certain decibel level. And then when it breaks through the gate, it opens the gate when you talk and you can hear the mic. It's automatic. It's an automatic switch. But those two tools right there, built into Wirecast and all versions, is an excellent way to just kind of up your audio game and kind of make you sound professional without a studio.
And it's very crucial because in this day and age, a lot of you guys that are on social media, you may not be video experts, and that's kind of why we're here. We're kind of trying to help you take your video production on social media to the next level, give you tips and techniques that aren't going to break the bank, but enable you to have the best professional product that you can put out there. I mean, because after all, Marty, we talked about this and it's in the show notes. You only get that one chance to make that first impression, and you're representing your
Right.
company, your brand, whatever else that you're doing. You want to put your best foot forward. I mean, that was one of the reasons it took us a while to launch this with Telestream because I wanted to make sure. I mean, from working with me all these years, I look for perfection. I try. I know I'm not going to achieve it, but
Yep.
I at least strive for perfection. I try,
Right.
and I'm constantly learning every day. We're all learning every day. But if you rush into things, bad things happen. Very, very bad
Yep.
things happen. Take your time, right?
Right. I mean, we always say, especially when you're starting out, keep it simple. The one thing that you want to get dialed in, get your video dialed in, get your camera position dialed in. Don't worry about the graphics. Don't worry about the green screen or the background. Just have kind of a plain background. Get your audio dialed in. Just get a decent mic. The ATR is a perfectly good mic, and do that, and then go live, and then build from there. Get better, and then you can practice your looking in the camera and your content and your presentation. And in the beginning, you're building an audience, so probably not a lot of people are going to be watching. And that's the time to make your mistakes. That's the time to build, and you build slowly. And then you can always add the fancy stuff that you have, Steven, in your production. You have a very complete production, but it did. You tell the story. It didn't start out like that. You started out very simply, and you
Right.
built along the way. And that's kind of part of the fun, anyway. So
It is, and it's the learning curve. Before we got to wrap this up, we have a a question in the chat room that Brad just sent to me. So I'm going to kind of look down at my phone here. It makes it a little bit easier. He says that from Misty, I know you guys stream live on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn simultaneously. Are you able to do this as live video on Instagram? And that's a very great question.
That's a great question.
Because right now, we all know the elephant in the room is Facebook owns Instagram, right? So that's the big elephant in the room. What has not happened is they have not opened the API to allow desktop applications such as Wirecast or any of the products out there to stream directly to it. Now, I do know of some workarounds that are out there that you can stream and pull it in, but I don't know if it's the official. That's not an official workaround.
Yeah,
but
there's some hacks.
we may have to investigate that, Marty, for a future to see if we can't get streaming on.
And maybe we can do like a hack show or something, like favorite hacks. You know, we've done. Hey, listen, we've done a lot of that stuff. You know, we've hacked things. You know, when you have to, you do it. You know, but yeah, I agree. There is no official way right now. It's really meant to be a mobile streaming platform, at least for. But right
Yep.
now, I don't know of any way to do it. You know, professionally, like with an encoder and everything. So.
Yeah, that's something we'll keep you guys posted with. So here's what I want you to do. In the Wirecast users group on Facebook, go join it. I'm one of the moderators. I'll allow you into the group just to answer the questions. So that way we know you're not like a bot coming in. That's why we have those questions there. Get in there. I have a great post running. What do you guys want to see on the show? What do you guys want to learn about? What are some of the things? Like I said, we've got some options and opportunities for some guys in the broadcast industry to come on and talk about some tips that they found helpful and that they're professionals at. We've got marketers from Telestream that are happy to come on and talk about the marketing game with your video, how to distribute the video out, because we don't want to just talk about video production. We also want to talk about how to get your video out there in the right eyes and get your business growing and your audience growing. These are tips and things that we're going to hope to see. So go over there to that page and like the page, like the Telestream Wirecast page, because that's where we stream live on Facebook. Like the LinkedIn page here at Telestream, and follow us for every week. We're going to be here to give you episode after episode of On Social. Marty, it was so great to have you here. So much information in one show.
I'm just glad I have my setup dialed in now, so I'm ready to go.
We're good to go, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. We really appreciate all of your comments. We appreciate you guys tuning in and enjoying the show with us. As always, we'll be back next week for more On Social.